You're listening to the Rough Tumble Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the second episode 15.
15 version 2.0.
The fuck is it?
What is that?
The piece of turkey.
Oh, that's from your sandwich yesterday.
I'm going to say that there.
That was probably, I didn't say this yesterday because I wasn't feeling well, but that was the most gnarly looking sandwich I've ever seen.
Like disgusting?
No, it was awesome looking.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was perfectly put together.
Yeah, Lizzie, like, she always buys, like, she buys all the things to make the sandwich. You know, like, some people just are happy with cheese and meat and bread. Mm-mm. She gets, like, lettuce, tomato, all of it. She gets the works.
When you do you make homemade nachos ever?
No.
Never?
Mm-mm.
Do you prefer nacho cheese or would you rather your nachos have melted regular cheese?
I'm not really a big nacho eater.
That's unfortunate.
But I would say like the cheap ass melted cheese.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
so you like liquid cheese? Like so fucking
like
gross.
the cafeteria cheese that comes out.
It's so bad.
Oh,
I always ask that question because you can tell a lot about a person's character by the way they answer that question.
I feel that's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the way that I feel about myself. Cafeteria cheese. That's that's Johnny.
That's your whole pie.
That's where Johnny's self-esteem is at. If there was levels, it would be cafeteria.
Where are you at right now?
Nacho cheese.
I'm right about cafeteria nacho cheese. That's really awesome.
That's where my self-worth is at. Hey, Nora. Oh, this is going to be such a much better episode now that I can just sit over here and love on Nora.
I know.
Hi. Yeah. All you're going to hear me do is talk to Nora for the rest of the podcast.
I'm the third wheel.
Yeah. So this is for the listeners out there, listener. This is the second time we've recorded this episode. The last time, yesterday we recorded about 2 hours, and literally as we're taking our headphones off, my computer crashed and we lost everything. So we're gonna try and keep it a little bit shorter, and hopefully that will help in the meantime. And then I'm gonna get a new computer, and it will fix all of our problems. So if you want to subscribe to our Patreon,
we're always looking for ways to upgrade Johnny's home equipment.
Yeah, my studio. It's getting there. It's coming along. Like we're really we're getting somewhere with it. Just we need to get more somewhere.
And the thing is the talking part is my only hobby. Like I don't care about the tech stuff.
Yeah.
And so luckily when we have money from the Patreon and stuff like that to get new stuff for the podcast, I don't argue about what the money gets spent on because I couldn't care less.
It's like, well, and there's so many things that we can do to just continuously upgrade. Like honestly, it's as long as we continue to invest money in it, I think we're going to end up with like the fucking coolest.
I was listening to a podcast on the way here, and I remember you'd mentioned before that one of your buddies commented on how good the audio sounds for our podcast. Yeah. I don't know any better. I just know what certain people's, but now that I'm a podcaster, I've become a pretty good snob.
I'm not like most boys. I'm a podcaster.
And I was noticing how the audio had a little bit of echo in the background in their audio. And I just remember thinking like, come on, man, you're better than that. You know, like it's not that hard.
It is. So the episode before this last one, when we got video the first time, I had to reset completely wipe my computer clean, reset everything. I remember that. So then whenever I went back in, I didn't realize that I hadn't saved my preset for the podcast, which gives us good sound.
Really good sound quality. Yeah.
And so, whenever I went back in, it was a nightmare. I was like, oh my God, I watched so many different YouTube videos to put all this together.
That's why I'm glad you do this.
And so I had to go back in. Luckily, I had it pretty well memorized and could kind of figure it out. But
and Lizzie had asked a couple podcasts ago about how I find the time to do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Part of it is I delegate it to other people.
Yeah.
Because if I was helping with this stuff at my house, there's no way. I don't have the time to do this and also edit and help you do all that. And if I was doing it at my house, my daughters are spilling sippy cups on top of computers. Like,
yeah,
delegating a lot of this stuff to you is how I'm able to do this.
It's definitely a good thing that I don't have kids. I don't think I'd be able to do it with kids. Because I do.
It's tough.
I like, I've gotten into this routine of like micromanagement where I'll just kind of pick a project that I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the podcast, I kind of have a timeline. Usually Sundays, like that night I'm up kind
Or
of
Monday
late.
afternoons, apparently.
Yeah, now Monday afternoons. But you know, like I have a timeline to get that done, and I get it done. But then like my other projects, I'll do some logo design, which I've been doing right now. I'll do that for like 30 minutes to an hour. Get bored of it, play some video games. The best idea I've ever had is this monitor right here. I flip it around and I hook my Xbox up to it.
So you just take breaks?
So I'll just take a break, play some video games, and then go right back to work. If I kind of get stuck somewhere and I can't think of something creatively, I'll like play video games, zone out for a little bit. I'll come back to it with a fresh mind. It's been like the best thing productivity wise.
Speaking of video games, and you and I know we've talked about this before about how like I'm not a gamer. I get really pissed off at the fact that 13-year-old kids fuck me up on like Battlefield and stuff like that. Like I'm literally like the character from The Office, Jim, when he's playing Call of Duty with his office and he's in the corner just jumping in circles. That's what I end up doing. And then I get pissed off because I want to be the cool sniper guy that goes around and creeps up on people and snipes them. And then somehow people are sniping me while I'm trying to, it just gets really out of hand. But they have the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare mobile game now.
Yeah.
Like PUBG, but it's like, So I'd heard some really good things about it. And
it's awesome.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
I played
so
PUBG
good.
for a while. I got really bored with PUBG because of the giant maps.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the only reason I can't play PUBG.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a team deathmatch kind of guy. Like, give me a small map where you're running from station to station, just fucking blowing each other up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Modern Warfare did and delivered. And now, like, multiple times a day, I'm just stuck to that screen, just
it's
fucking
awesome.
nailing it. It's so good.
And they nailed the touchscreen controls. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, they did.
That's really, really hard to do. And they hit it on the head. So how long have you been playing it?
About a week and a half now.
Okay.
Maybe
so
2 weeks.
I think the first 10 levels, like the first, until you're like level 10 or something, you're playing against bots.
So I didn't know that because I remember thinking like, man, these guys are super easy to kill.
Yeah.
And it was like unnecessarily easy.
Right.
And now I think I'm at level 46, almost 50.
So you're playing against
Now I'm
actual
playing against
people.
other-
Yeah.
and that's
you're
when I
probably
started-
dying more.
Yeah, I'm dying way more. And I was starting to think that people were cheating. Like, because they did that with PUBG.
Yeah.
They would like download not graphics, but like they would do like code. They would download codes that would give them cheat codes and stuff.
They're probably still doing it with Call of
And
Duty.
it fucking sucks because it's not fair. And it's the other thing is like, why is it that important to you? Like,
Right,
it's so important to you that you have to go hack a mobile game so that you can be better, but you're cheating and nothing comes from it. And then
Some of that's kind of debatable because like, okay, for instance, Grand Theft Auto. I play Grand Theft Auto online a lot. Love that game.
right.
There's a lot of hackers on there because they have an economy that's based within the video game.
What?
Where like they have a thing called shark cards, basically like like a gift card or a debit card. You would purchase that, it gives you $1 million in credit. So let's say $10 gets you $1 million in game credit. If you want to buy this nice car, well, that's $4 million. And then they add a bunch of things onto it. So like you want to buy this car that has a rocket launcher on the back of it, you have to buy a warehouse also, which is $10 million so that you can store this car, which is $8 million. So then people are driven to, it doesn't make sense to try and do the missions and grind to make that money.
They
So
want the
people-
easy run.
So people, will buy those shark cards for money. And then hackers will go in and either just award themselves tons of money or they'll come in with different wacky vehicles and stuff. But it's like, that's kind of what you get, whenever you're trying to rip people off in that way, it's like, well, that's especially in a game that's like Grand Theft Auto, that's so based on like anarchy.
So I guess
that's what you guys get.
I guess you're getting the actual experience.
The PUBG shit though, like
That was
trying to win at that kind of stuff is just stupid.
because they were downloading like crypto that would I say crypto, but code and stuff that would make them invincible. It allowed you to be able to look through walls, like all kinds of fucking stuff. And it's like, man, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody at the moment, at the level I'm at, I don't think anybody's cheating on the Modern Warfare game. The only reason I would think so is because like I'd be shooting a guy in the face and then it felt like they only shot me twice.
Yeah.
And then I'd die. But then when you watch the replay cam, you realize, no, they were shooting in the head the whole time.
A lot of it's connectivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you were just getting a delay.
That's part of what makes it easier for you to win sometimes too, is like other people have bad connectivity. And a lot of those people that are playing are not Call of Duty players.
No, they're not. They're mostly in Brazil. I had this situation happen like last week. I got an invitation to play.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sweet. I assumed it was because people had been paying attention to how good I was. And they were like, we want that guy on our team. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I accept it. We go into this little room, and like you can hear them talking and, they have the microphone on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's this dude talking to this other guy. And he's like, the guy goes, Mitch, who's Mitch? And this guy goes, man, that's one of my dudes from school, man. That's one of my boys. And I was like, oh, he has mistaken me for the wrong person. I shall now leave this room. And so I just left.
There was a Skyrim. Have you ever played Skyrim?
I know of it. I've never played it though.
So they had like an online game, Elder Scrolls, that came out.
Yeah.
And I played it for maybe 15 minutes. I get into a game. I like travel out into the wild. I find this like tavern, like a bar or whatever. And I go inside and I hear, in the chat, there's a bunch of people talking. And it's like the whole place is full of people that are role playing this weird sex thing. And like there's women dancing on top of tables and stuff. Like they're how they have like the little dances that you press a button and they'll do something. There's like women on top of tables that are doing that, and like guys are like talking to them and like, oh yeah, baby. And it's so fucking weird. I was like, yep, I'm done with this game.
And I'm out.
Yeah. I ended up in some weird Elder Scrolls sex ring.
There's some people that take that shit way serious.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the cosplayers or the not the cosplayers, but the where they pretend to be like knights?
Furries. Wait. Oh yeah. LARPing.
LARPing. Yeah. They used to have it over by War Memorial Stadium, by the zoo. They would do LARPing over there.
Dude, okay, I said this the other day, like, I can only be so much nerd at one time.
Right.
So like I was like, I have the new gimbal, my new toy, and I'm like, I feel really weird walking around the mats with my black belt, my full gi on with that in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can only be this much of a fucking nerd at once. Like LARPing is a little bit like that. Like the nerd in me looks at that and I'm like, that looks so much fucking fun, but I just can't bring myself to that level.
Yeah. And the level that you have to like dedicate a lot of your imagination to that, in the sense that
I don't feel like I would. I feel like I would.
I don't mean that you have to make up crazy situations. I mean that like at a certain point, like when you do something, the other person has to comply.
Yeah.
If they don't comply, then now there's this weird moment where you tried to build a reality inside of a fake reality, and then they're fucking it up for you.
Yeah.
And so like, oh, you cast this spell on them, but then they're like, oh yeah, well I have an anti-spell.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it. Like you're not.
I would get irritated with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, whereas
I'd
if
be
you
like,
do it
yeah,
in
I have
real
a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Come here.
Let me put my hands on you for a second. Speaking of jiu-jitsu, and so Bryce Mitchell over the weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got to go through.
We got to go through the whole thing again, dude. We got to run it all back like we never
I
even talked
haven't
about
heard this
it.
a million times yet. I just talked to him.
So did
I
you
just
hear about the
texted him, by
UFC?
way. Yeah.
You talked to him recently?
Yeah, like I sent him. Well, one of our fans.
Because don't connect with him on. Never mind. I don't want to ruin it for the fans.
Yeah.
Yep. Message him on Instagram.
One of our fans messaged me and was like, dude, it's so good to see Bryce getting all this kind of attention now. And so I sent that to Bryce. I was like, dude, if nothing else that you got out of this podcast, you made a fan.
Right.
And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of that for him. Like I'm glad that we were able to do at least pull through our end of the bargain for bringing him on.
Yeah, we had him on the show,
Yeah.
and we talked almost nothing about martial arts for the most part,
which was the goal. Honestly, I don't want to talk to these people. Like, you bring Tom Cruise on, are you going to talk about Mission Impossible?
No, I'm talking about Scientology.
Exactly. I'm going to figure out what makes Tom Cruise tick.
And I told Bryce that when we brought him on the first time. I said, hey man, if there's something you don't want to talk about, let me know now, because otherwise we're probably going to talk about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't control the flow of the conversation.
No.
Speaking of which, Lizzie did bring up a good point after our Phantom episode that nobody will ever hear. It was a really good episode too.
Yeah.
We should get back into Bryce too, because we did this last time too. But she brought up a good point that we just need to bring in more guests. It's getting stale between the three of us.
You had it right the first time.
Between the two of us, yeah. Lizzie is the only one with flavor.
That's right.
But it's getting stale. I think I hear us say the same things over and over again sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not again. Even out of myself. So we just need to do better about that. But Bryce.
Yep. So
Bryce won.
he won. So
with
now
Twister.
that brings him to 3-0 in the UFC. And depending on how you look at it, I think me and you talked about this. Technically, he's 11-0 as a pro, but on some forums you look at, it has him as 11-1 because of the Ultimate Fighter episode. Yeah.
Which had that been on a previous season that wasn't live, it wouldn't show up at all.
Yeah, and the thing is the UFC themselves go back and forth between whether or not they show that loss or not.
Yeah, I've seen him do that.
It just depends. But yeah, so now he's 3-0. This was a very decisive victory, though.
Yeah.
When he fought Bobby Moffett, that was a tough fight.
Yeah.
That was a real tough fight.
He's had a couple of really close ones.
Yes, and it's weird because when you have that emotional connection to a person, both of us have a close relationship with him, both as training partners and as friends. And when you see somebody like that, when I watched TJ on the Contender Series, oh my God, everybody was getting pissed off at me because we were watching it at Westside on a giant screen, and I had it on my app because the computer they were using kept lagging and crashing.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck this, I'm not going to miss anything. So I went on my ESPN Plus app and watched it. And, but I was about 10 seconds ahead of what they were watching. So I saw TJ get knocked down and almost knocked completely unconscious before they did. So I was like, fuck. And they're like, shut up. And then they see him drop, And then I saw him win before everyone else did.
Yeah.
I talked to TJ about that. And I said, man, that recovery you had after getting knocked down was amazing. You got knocked the fuck down and then almost immediately got right back into the game.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't remember the rest of the match from that match. As soon as he got knocked down, he doesn't really remember the rest.
Yeah.
It took him a minute to get back on speed. But you saw his training take over. He went in for a low single and he looked like he was back in the game.
Yeah.
But he said mentally he wasn't. It was his body just going through the motions.
There's a couple of varying degrees of that I've had where I've definitely had that instance. I've been knocked out to where I just don't remember the rest of the evening really. I remember bits and pieces of it. There's I've been choked unconscious where it's just this gap where you all of a sudden
it's not getting it back.
This piece happened in your life that you weren't a part of. Somebody fast forward,
Yeah.
And then I've been rocked too where I don't remember the rest of a round or something, but there's been times too where I think mostly I've felt it in training where I've been hit hard enough where I feel my body going through the actions, but my brain isn't. It doesn't feel like my brain is attached to the actions that are happening in my body at the moment. And it's a really, man, there are weird things that happen whenever people hit that button.
I had a coach that had a really interesting way of preparing people for the knockout activities. He would have us roll backwards over and over and over and over again to get really dizzy.
Yeah.
And then stand up and have to hit a couple of shots
and stuff like that.
Yeah, hit mitts and do shots. And I was like, and I remember thinking well, I don't know if this is valuable or not because I've never been knocked out or unconscious or anything like that. But it seemed to be a lot of coaches have done that, I guess, technique or whatever, but I've never been rocked. So I don't know.
I think that it's, I don't know necessarily if it helps whenever you're knocked unconscious, but I think it's an important lesson to learn, to see this is how difficult it is.
And then
and you just spinning around in a circle.
It's crazy.
Right. And that's how important that training is, I think.
Yeah. And so this was the second twister submission. So Bryce got a twister submission, which is the second twister submission in UFC history.
Yep. We were much more enthusiastic about this the last episode.
Yes, we were.
We were so excited about it. Now I just feel like I've been telling people this for
because we've been talking about it for 2 days now.
My classes, everybody's been asking and talking about. I showed the twister today in gi class.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice. I've been put in Bryce's twister multiple times.
Sames.
Yeah, it's real, and it's funny. My buddy hit me up and was like, he's like, because my buddy used to do like Eddie Bravo stuff way back in like 06, 07 to the point where our instructor was like, you need to stop fucking doing that. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here it is, like fast forward over 12 years later. And he messaged me on Instagram and was like, I saw Bryce, your boy got that twister. You know, and it's almost like he was kind of saying like, oh, remember all those times I wasn't allowed to do it? Who's laughing now?
Right.
It's like, well, you didn't do it, but you know, Bryce did. And Bryce got hooked on that position and was just, no matter who he trained with, he didn't care who he was training with, that was his goal.
Yeah.
He still was doing it up until like 2 days before the fight. He was putting everybody in twisters and getting them out. And it's a weird submission, dude. Like like I said yesterday, for those of you guys who were listening,
me.
Yeah, I've only been put in the twister by one other person, and it was Levi Moles, which is he's a Brandon Quick black belt. And when we talked about the fact that we were in the same division, so but he had put me in that twister in a no-gi fight, and it didn't hurt. He wasn't really doing it very good. I just didn't know how to get out, and I just remember thinking like, if I wait this out, I'm still going to lose the fight, but I'm also like making other people have to wait for this fight to be over. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tap. That way the next guy can come in and get his training and, get his fight out of the way and stuff. But like,
which was me.
Yeah. So
the dude I think somebody like rubbed their butthole on my windscreen because my eye's all itchy all of a sudden.
Oh man.
I got pink eye from
somebody farted on it.
Yeah. It's going to that's what I'm doing next.
I was petting Nora a minute ago and she farted.
Oh yeah.
It was so bad.
Nora. That's not what ladies do.
Came out of the bottom though.
It's
it's close to her vagina.
It's funny that like when like a band pops up on the radio and like you understand because we've played music and we understand the process of getting to the point of being on the radio or having success with that kind of thing. And so I automatically think of like, I bet these guys have been on the road for like 10 years trying to crack at this and doing this, out, and the other. And it's surprising how many people ask me like, so how long has Bryce been training? Like, he's only been doing this a couple of years. Like, he's really young, I'm like, dude, he's been doing it since he was 14.
Yep.
He's been fighting since he was like 16, and like beating grown adults since he was 16. And he's been doing it. I mean, he's been doing it for at least 10 years, 12 years.
Yeah. Nobody outside of our small circle of community knew of him. That's the only thing.
Well, because again, he doesn't, he's that person that lets his success speak for itself, and he doesn't talk, he doesn't do any of that. He just works. That's it. All he does is work. And that's a big part of his success is that attitude. But it's interesting to just hear other people's perspective of it. Like, wow, I had no idea that he was so good at jiu-jitsu or that he'd been doing this for so long. He's
a black belt. I think you and I talked about it where it was mentioned that he was a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. No, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Willie gave him his black belt about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So he's been, I want to say
it would have been less than that. He got his black belt after me.
Okay.
No big deal.
No big deal. Well, I outrank both of you, so.
I mean, I was up there in line. I was your mentor. If you can call me a mentor, I guess. Big brother, whatever you want to call it.
I don't like to subscribe to terms. But yeah, he is a black belt, and he's a legitimately good black belt. Oh man,
he's good. He'll tell you though too, like he just doesn't do gi enough, and he just doesn't feel adequate in the gi, and like he's honest about that. And he said to me, he's like, whenever I'm done like fighting, I'll probably spend more time in the gi.
Yeah, and he knows techniques, but his game is so
it's at 100% no gi centric. Even his stand up is he's one of the better guys that's built his stand up around his wrestling. It feeds into it so well.
Yeah, the way he takes shots off of his punches and things like that, and sets up the counters. I tell people this about TJ, and I've said this before. If you ever want to see like a highlight of a fighter who just makes it look fucking good, it's TJ Brown.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you watch his highlight videos, he makes it look like the movies want it to look.
Yeah.
His style, his movement, everything, his posture, like everything. When I watch him wrestle, it's the same thing. Like he hit the way that he hits everything. It just looks perfect.
Those are my favorite kind of fighters to watch because like I've always been a big Jose Aldo fan because when you watch him strike, it's like that's the way that I teach how to kick in my class. That's the way how I teach to punch in my class. Stuff like that. Like they're doing the right things. And then when you watch like the Diaz brothers, you're like, what in the fuck?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is horrid. And then it wins.
And then you win,
works,
so you can't argue it. But at the same time, you're like, it's not.
No, that's not how it's supposed to go.
No, and that's exactly right. You know, because and that's not to say that Bryce doesn't look good when he's winning, and his highlights aren't awesome either. But like, it's just from like
Bryce turns it into a dogfight.
He does.
That's what it is. Exactly. His specialty. He's great at that. He wants to attach himself to you and make you wear him like a backpack until you just can't anymore. Yep. And and TJ's much more of that slick. I've said it before. He's one of the only people that I've sparred with that I've caught actively trying to set me up. Like I will try and set traps for people, but it's rare in this area just because we don't have a lot of kickboxers. It's rare for me to kickbox with somebody that I'll see them start to set traps that are like actively trying to trick me. And TJ is one of the only people in the area that will do that.
He's got some slick stuff. And I think him and Bill Bartley, Barton, sorry, Bill Barton. I didn't want to make his name. I see him every day at the gym. Phenomenal Muay Thai kickbox coach in this area. And he does do some work at West Side. He does privates and stuff. He doesn't teach any of the classes there, but he does privates and stuff. And he does work with TJ. And man, they had developed this like feint to a leg head kick type thing, and that's what he was knocking people out with. TJ knocked like 3 guys out in a row with that thing, you know. And it's just when you watch it, you're watching, you're thinking, how is it possible? How is that guy falling for that? Because I don't know. But that's the thing is, I'm not a boxer. I'm not a kickboxer. So I don't. It's like a video. You know, it's like a computer program. They're looking for a pattern. And so, like with the one where he knocked the guy out in Oklahoma, I believe it was, you see the guy dip into the kick, and it's because of the way he was setting it up. The guy thinks he's going to actually like slip. Yeah, whatever punch is supposed to be coming next, and instead it ends with a leg kick.
I forget what stance he's
orthodox
in.
Normally.
Well, he'll switch back and forth, but I forget what stance he was in, and I don't remember exactly how this worked. But if you're throwing, say if I'm right-handed, so my right side is my rear side. If I'm throwing my rear kick, it should look like I'm throwing my rear cross, my right straight. And so they start off the exact same. So if you program somebody by throwing jab, cross, they start to anticipate that right hand coming. They're going to slip off of that. Next time that you throw jab, cross, instead of that, you start that cross and then the kick comes over instead. A lot of people will dip right into it.
That's what happened. It's so crazy to see it. And like, you know, I'm glad to see it though, because you're seeing that with the right training partners and with the right coaches surrounding you, you don't have to go to a huge team. You don't have to go to an American top team. You don't have to go to, you know, Pat Miletich was doing it back in the day. That wasn't a big team. That was some random gym in Idaho or Iowa that was small time, you know, and but created tons and tons of champions. Yeah. And people started traveling from all over the place to train there with Pat Miletich at his Miletich Fighting Systems. I'm not saying that Westside's going to become that, but Arkansas is getting put on the map, and it's thanks to TJ and it's thanks to Bryce Mitchell and people like myself.
People like us, the Rough and Tumble Podcast, of course.
So it'll be interesting to see. TJ's fighting in February in the UFC. It'll be his first UFC debut. Yeah. I wish him all the luck in the world. I can only imagine the nerves that he must be going through. So I really hope that
we should bring it up and make sure.
We should actually get him on the show and then only talk about it.
Yeah. So how are your nerves? What are your nerves? Are you nervous?
And then make him listen to that episode of the podcast right before the fight.
Yeah.
So he's reminded.
Great. Man, I can't even imagine what it's like to be punched in the face. How do you deal with that?
In front of everybody on TV.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I mentioned that is because we talked earlier about how nerve-wracking it can be to have a personal attachment to the person who's up there doing that.
Right. You know? It is. Dude, I'm always more nervous whenever like my friends are fighting and stuff. Yeah. oh shit. I had a point to make and you talked too long. You didn't let me cut you off and now I can't. Damn it.
Great. Story of my life.
We need more guests on here so that they can fill the air.
We have the microphone to do it.
Yeah. And yeah, we just need to kick Bop off the show and get,
only when we have a guest.
Yeah. We can get a fourth microphone pretty easy.
Well,
I've got a sugar daddy.
Out.
So
yeah, exactly. Daniel, you know what time it is.
Yeah, no. I don't remember what I was going to talk about, but
it's fine.
I'm super proud of Bryce. I think this is like the coolest thing for him. It's the coolest thing for this area. And just to see him have the success and start to gain the notoriety. Oh, that's what I was going to say. To your statement
about Arkansas,
and people are realizing that you don't have to go to these huge camps. I think the thing that is changing in people's perception is they're realizing that they're surrounded by experts. You can find experts in any field in any state in the United States right now. And it's just about collecting those people and doing the right things.
Yep.
And like, Ronda Rousey is a good example. She had a bad coach.
She had a really bad coach and it fucked her career.
However, because she did the work, she got to where she was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then everybody else started doing their work and then she had nowhere else to go.
Right.
Her mom.
That's part of her. I think that's a lot of her fault though.
Oh yeah, of course it is. But imagine how she must have felt. Like, so let's think about that. The coach that she was with from the beginning brought her into that position.
Yeah.
So now you're in a position where you have to say, this isn't her mom. Apparently, from what I read, her mom was begging her, find another coach.
Yeah.
He's not going to work. He's not going to be able to give you the things that you need. But how do you have that conversation? That'd be like you and Lizzie going, hey, Mitch, it's been fun, but we had a conversation and we don't think that you should be on the show anymore.
Dude, did you hear us? No,
I'm just saying, like, you left the microphone on. And so I was right here when you had it.
Yeah.
But
you weren't even hiding it.
But that's the thing is like, because my buddy, so Dustin Poirier out of Gladiator Academy with Tim Crater down south in Louisiana. I remember when Dustin went to American Top Team, and it's because Tim had a real conversation and he was like, bro, you're going to have to go somewhere else. I don't have the training partners for you here right now. These things.
That's a big part of it is the training partners.
Yeah. And so, but as a coach, he was able to say, this is what's best for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think in Ronda Rousey's situation, he honestly still felt that he could give her, and it was like, no, I got you here. We're doing this together because I need you more than you need me, really.
And they could have still done it had he been able to say,
let's bring other people in.
Again, like what I said in the Phantom episode, like you have to be able to be real with yourself and say like, these are my weaknesses and I need to surround myself with people that can fill those gaps. If not for my own knowledge and my own coaching, if not for that, then I have a wrestling coach that comes in from CBC and does my wrestling class. I'm almost never there whenever he's there because I hate wrestling and I'm done with it. I did my time. It's just like my dieting. I did my time at wrestling.
Yeah.
And I know how to wrestle and it sucks and I'm done.
I love wrestling.
I hate it.
I love it.
A nightmare.
But I prefer to make, like, most of my jiu-jitsu is scramble induced.
Yeah.
Or scramble reliant. And so I do a lot of work off of underhooks and inducing scrambles and then allowing my athleticism to outpace people in a lot of times.
I don't mind wrestling if I can punch and kick and use a wall.
Yeah.
Honestly.
For sure.
I can wrestle on the wall all day. That's no problem.
Well, you had good wrestling against Jeremy Miller in the Submission Hunter Pro in Tennessee.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I was like, I didn't expect you to be able to down block and have a good sprawl like that. Not to say that you don't have that, but I just remember thinking like, good. I'm glad that that's working out because that's gonna, because I think he shot in on a single or he was going in on something. And I remember your sprawl was super heavy and stuff, and you were cutting the corner and angle, and I was like, nice.
Singles, I'll give up single legs so that I can defend them because I have a lot of attacks based off of that, and I have. Well, like I said at the seminar, like I base my jiu-jitsu off of my attributes and my balance is one of them. So like even Josh Root, the other day we had a scramble. He ended up ultimately, I think, I'll say I pulled guard.
Well, I don't know who that is. So.
Oh yeah, sorry. The person that we don't speak of. bleep. He picked up my leg and I was like hopping around for quite a while. Like I can stay on that leg for quite a while. Ultimately, he did take me down. But
yeah, I think I proved that the best way to take you down is to get both your feet off the ground.
Yeah, that's the trick.
And even then, because you planted your hand during that fireman's carry, and I had to elevate you more, but your arms are as long as my legs.
I'll cartwheel out of those a lot of times. Yeah. I'll do the same when people pull guard. As I'll hit that cartwheel pass.
I like the cartwheel pass off that too.
I got arm barred for it one time though.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And
I do a good X pass, like a jumping X pass off of the guard pull that I got.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We actually drilled it over and over again in anticipation of you pulling guard against me in the brown belt match. Mm-hmm. And you didn't pull guard, but because of that drilling, it became like an actual go-to technique for me when people pull guard. So,
good. I'm glad I could do that.
So
for
you actually improved my game by actually not going through the game plan that we planned.
You're welcome. Every time I look at the computer, I like see it. I'm like, oh my God, it's frozen.
I know. I keep looking at it.
I'm so stressed about it now.
Cool. I stare at the bars, the jumping bars there. And that's how I noticed it yesterday when it stopped. I was like, it stopped with them like at full volume.
Yeah. So you see where it says the CPU and it's kind of changing down at the bottom under the numbers. That's what you have to look at.
Oh, okay.
Because if that hits, it's at like 41%, 40% right now. If that, it'll get up sometimes to where it's in the red and it's like 80%, and that's what causes us to crash a lot of times. I think we just gotten to the point where we were at 2 fucking hours in. Yeah. That file was 45 gig large, so like that's
because with the addition of the camera.
The camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say we were doing before our first episode ever, which a lot of people don't know this. Our episode 1 was almost 4 hours long. It was like 3 hours, something like that. It was long.
We talked for a we
just kept going.
I edited those first couples down. I don't think that I have those files anymore.
That sucks because it was a shitty episode.
Yeah.
But like it was funny because we had all these great ideas, but we didn't know how to incorporate them. So we're like, fuck it, we're just gonna do all of them.
Yeah.
Because we had the John Cena belt, we had the book from the cult.
Yeah,
Remember that?
I still have that.
Because our goal, we were like, we're gonna read a page out of this cult book.
We haven't done it.
We never did.
We need to do like a recap of all of our episodes.
I know.
I was thinking about the other day. Remember how like worried we were that we would offend somebody or like. At first, we're like, oh my
you
God,
were more worried than I was.
Yeah, I'm always stressed about it. See, well, it's like with the flag thing. Like we realized that.
Oh, I know.
Apparently, I hung the flag backwards, and it was offensive, and it made me feel bad. I don't give a shit if people like say things towards me. I don't like that guy. He's a piece of shit or whatever. But then whenever people think that I have the intentions that I don't, that's whenever I'm like, I get super paranoid. I get like really, really anxious. And so like when that popped up, I was like, oh my God, I hope
people think you're anti-American.
Yeah.
Well, because they already know you're an atheist and anti-Christian.
Right. So. Of course. And then I felt like, then I started thinking about, I was like, dude, I'm going to get like the door kicked in one day. They're going to come in here thinking that I'm like in some militia.
I know.
And I have this big, weird American flag hung backwards behind me.
It's like a symbol.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm in here making like videos.
You could have easily just argued and said, no, it's because the camera reverses it.
Yeah.
And so nobody would have known.
About that. Yeah, somebody would have caught us. That's the same thing with Reddit. I can't stand Reddit because every fucking time I get on there, they're like, you misspelled a word. Or one time I put on there something about like, here's one to the girls that will do things. It was like something about an ex-girlfriend or something about her like going hiking with me. And I was like, hey, this is, she's sucking it up and doing it because she knows that I love it. And he's like, how about one for the girlfriends that do it because they love it too? Or we don't force our girlfriends to do things they don't like. I'm like, come on, guys.
That's not what the fuck we're
I'm not here like, guys, I drug her out here by her feet. I hit her over the head and now she has...
What drives those people is honestly the safety of the computer. Yeah. That's what drives, because if you meet those person in real life, I don't mean to say that they would avoid conflict. What I'm saying is if you met that person in real life, they're not as big and bad as they make themselves seem. There's a lot of power behind not confronting someone.
I think people get off on the idea of like proving somebody wrong and the idea like what you're saying about like people cheating at a video game.
Right.
I think it's more about them seeing you react to them cheating.
Almost like a weird level of trolling.
Yeah, like they're getting off on getting a reaction out of you. It's the same. It's bullying. We've talked about this before. Trolling is bullying, and I don't know where all of a sudden as a culture, we're like, this is okay now.
See,
we were so anti-bullying for a while.
I know, and we still are to an extent. There's a paradigm shift taking place. I think we can agree on that because, the most prolific things that we were dealing with for a while there was like the Me Too movement and like cyberbullying and all this other stuff. And it seems like now it's like we're reverting back to nobody really cares anymore. They're not as passionate about the movements as they were, like Antifa. And you were seeing and maybe it's because I don't have Facebook. Maybe that stuff still is going on. I just don't see it because I'm not plugged into the network.
It's just not the hot thing right now. Right now, it's all
obviously it's still going on. I get it.
Have you been paying attention to anything?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So
I could ask Bryce Mitchell, but
yeah, I listen to NPR constantly. I never have the ability to listen to my music in my car. So and I don't want to listen to garbage, so I listen to NPR. And it's painful a lot of the time, but they have the impeachment hearings on constantly right now. And dude, it's like one of them today, they were like yelling at each other. And these are like they even said it on air, like this is the height of civility. Like this is where you'll see all of the formal proceedings and all of that kind of thing with government and judges and all of that. And they're in there yelling at each other. There's at one point where this guy's like, he's just like, you won't answer the question, so I'm shutting it down. I'm not going to ask any more questions because you're too afraid. He's just yelling at this
silliness.
Dude. And the guy probably deserved to be yelled at, but like, it's just insane. Like everything is so crazy right now.
And not only that, the arguments are so weird. So I'm 36. You're what, 33? 32?
Yeah, 32.
32. Yeah. And so.
Wait, how old am I?
I don't know.
Am I 33?
You told me yesterday. I just couldn't remember what you said.
Honestly, I don't remember if I'm 32 or 33. I think
That's
I'm
fair.
32.
What
I was
year were
born
you
in 1987. I'm coming up on 33, I'm pretty sure. We're in here
You're
doing
32.
we're in here
32.
doing the math.
I was doing the math.
March will be 33.
Yeah. Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay. So you're but the thing is we're adults. But look at the
You're adults.
Yeah.
I'm this many.
You're a towel.
I'm this many.
But we look at it and go, the stupid, silly shit that we do. And so then we're adults. And then we see people in Congress and Senate and things like that. And we're like, well, those people are roughly the same age as we are. If we're capable of this retarded, immature behavior, obviously so are they.
Yeah.
And
I don't have any. So I actually have a friend that I grew up with playing music with him. I know him personally. I have a friend that knows him personally who became a senator, then is now in prison.
For what?
Did
we talk about this?
No, I don't think so, actually. And I'm not going to bring his name up.
You don't have to.
Because I actually do know this person.
What does it rhyme with?
It'd be too easy to figure out. But anyways, he apparently was somehow he was funneling money from somewhere or something. But yeah, he's in prison now for it. And this guy, he was me.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, and he knew he wanted to be a politician. Then he was always making sure that he was clear of any kind of crazy stuff.
Because it might come back.
He played in a Dixon Street bar band. But it's just crazy because like I can definitely imagine myself getting to that position and being around the culture of like, it happens everywhere. Yeah. Everybody's doing it. You know that people are influencing each other to do it. So being around that constantly, and then being in a position where you can I can fudge that number a little bit and
no one's gonna know.
Make an extra $50,000.
Well, we do it in our everyday lives. We just do it on lower capacity.
How many times does a business take cash instead of
so that they don't have to put taxes on it?
Taxes.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Honestly,
it's still your money.
Yeah, and I don't think that you're stealing from anybody.
You're not stealing.
Honestly, we shouldn't be paying those taxes to begin with.
Yeah,
but the fact that he did it on a larger scale that earned him more money. But dude, I just don't know. When you're seeing millions of dollars coming through, and you're like, what's $50,000? This money, and too, Conway has they have this giant fucking Christmas tree in downtown. It cost them like $150,000 to get this Christmas tree.
Is it a real tree?
No.
It's a fake tree?
It's a fake tree. The first year it was broken. They couldn't get it set up. So then they had to put it in a storage facility. That storage facility went out of business. So then the city literally had to break into their premises and steal it back from them.
Oh, wow.
Like the cops were telling me about
I want to be
this.
on that.
And then, and then somebody had found the exact same Christmas tree on like Costco website or something for like $5,000. And so everybody's like, okay, where did that money go?
So you said they spent $150,000?
I don't know what the exact numbers are, but we're going to say.
Because for some reason in my head, all I heard was 150.
That's 150,000, something like something outrageous like that.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly
you're not a
what it was.
comptroller, so.
Right. But, and then like it ended up actually only costing like $15,000 or something.
See it all the time.
And so people were like, where the fuck did all this other money go to? Stuff like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know, that was funneled into something.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. We had a big deal happen with the Air Force recently. It was a big fraud, waste, and abuse deal. So, you know, the Air Force has a program called fraud, waste, and abuse. And the idea is that like if you identify that someone or an entity is misusing assets in such a way that it is fraud, waste, or abuse, there's a process to report it. They had done like a review and found that this unit was buying like these $5,000 coffee cups. And like somebody pointed it out and was like, wait the fuck a second. It was like a senator that had found it through something like that. It was like, you're telling me that we have like, we're on a defense budget right now where we don't have the money to even put planes in the air sometimes. And you guys are buying $5,000 coffee cups? Like, what the fuck else are you guys doing? And so they went and I'm going to see if I can find it, but it was fairly silly. And then now the coffee cup wasn't like a coffee cup. It was like this special cup that like, it was like a Keurig type thing. And it was on this one particular aircraft or something like that. And you guys can go Google it. I don't have time for this shit. But they came and looked at it and they found it and they were like, what the fuck? It had been like hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever over the course of several years and so what happens is when a military unit gets their budget for the year. Yeah. So one of two things happens. One, the goal is to always have your budget increased every year so you can have more money. Two, everybody freaks out at the end of the year because they haven't spent all their money. And if they don't spend their money, then whatever's left over, their budget shrinks by that much the next year. So if you have a $200,000 budget, at the end of the year, you have $10,000 left. Well, the next year's budget is going to be $190,000. Yeah. So then everybody freaks. And that's really what was going on was they were like, we have this money. We've got to get rid of it. And so they just started buying frivolous things. It happens all the time in my unit all the time. Like they'll be like, all right, who needs, you guys cool with these $50 pens? Like, well, what does it do? It writes underwater. Well, if I'm underwater in an airplane, I've made a terrible mistake. Yeah. You know,
the new submarine planes.
Right. It's a new submarine plane. And I'm just kidding. Like our unit's really good about allocating money appropriately, but you see it sometimes, you know. And
I'm sure too that the Air Force knows that they're gonna, you know, like you're gonna spend a little bit extra money on stuff. That's fine, but
you see
$5,000 coffee cups is a little bit.
It was pretty insane. And like I said, everybody can go Google it. You'll see if you just type in Air Force spends $5,000 on coffee cups, it'll come up. Like that's all you have to put in the Google search bar. Have you ever seen that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Where Dee is like dating this politician. And she thinks that like he's like this bigwig senator and like whatever, but he's just a comptroller, which is basically just the treasurer for like Philadelphia.
I don't think I have seen that.
Oh, it's so good because like she's going around like telling everybody that she's dating a senator, a politician, all that stuff. And then, but he finds out that he's cheating on his wife. And like his wife catches him and like is yelling at Dee and is making fun of her and her husband. And it's like, Thomas, you're just a fucking comptroller. You know, you're not fucking John Gotti. Like, what do you like? Because he had built up this whole thing. Like he was this really important senator, you know, and all that, you know, but he was really just a treasurer. Go out there and check it out, guys. But
it's an ad for It's Always Sunny. I love that show.
It's a great show.
It's so good.
That show is one of my favorite shows. And then Letterkenny, I know we talked about that before. Easily one of my favorite shows. Like that humor is just absolutely awesome for me.
We talked about on the last episode, this is just classic fail by Jonny and Mitch. we wanted to talk about another band and do an album review of a band called Jank. I freaking love their albums. Great music. Turns out they're fucking scumbags that are...
Well, at least the lead singer is.
The lead singer's a scumbag that likes little kids. Well, I still don't know what the full story is on what
you can't get a whole lot of information. It just... Well, and the thing is that led us to talking about the Jesse Lacey thing, Brand New,
which they've taken off of Spotify apparently, like Spotify playlists and rewinds.
You know, and I thought it was weird because when I shared my Instagram story with my Spotify stuff after you did it, I know that I had listened to a shit ton of Brand New, and none of it was on there.
Right,
it didn't show any of the Brand New stuff. And the thing is I don't listen to that much Incubus, and it had Incubus listed as my number one band, and I was weird. Like, that's not possible.
Yeah,
I've listened to way more Luke Combs and than I have Incubus in the past year. It's
probably good that our last episode I went into defending Jesse Lacey a little bit too much, and I feel guilty about that. So now I'm glad we didn't release that.
Yeah, it's true, because at one point I thought I was gonna have to have the conversation with you where Mitch Hall says, Johnny, you can't keep blaming the victim.
Yeah. It just seems fishy, you know?
No, I get it, man. And
I've been around those groupies, the 15-year-old groupies, and they'll absolutely do everything they can to entrap you. I've seen it with
a slippery
grown
slope,
women.
Right? Yeah. That's a slippery one, because you and I, like you said, we've been there. We've been around. We were both bass players, so we got to watch the other band members have sex with really hot chicks.
Yeah. That's actually one of the rules as the bass player is you watch other members have sex.
You never get to touch though. Mm-hmm. I was just too busy drinking Long Island iced teas. So, but it's a slippery slope, because on one hand, right, you're right. You can't. They were still the victim of an adult. Right. So you have to be okay with, you have to mention that. But at the same time, you're like, fuck, man, have some personal responsibility for your actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
If you think that you're adult enough to be having those actions, then you're adult enough to tell that person your age so that they can make an adult decision.
Because with Jesse Lacey,
we did come to the conclusion that he knew her age. We believe that he knew her age and still continued through with it. But there was the instance of I heard another story about this the other day of just women being sexually harassed in the workplace, and I totally understand this, because I could totally see myself doing something similar, being put in a situation. But the women, even though they were sexually harassed, and even though beforehand, if you had asked them, hey, if a person in the workplace asked you this, what would you do? They'd be like, I'd tell them off and I'd leave.
Right.
Well, whenever it actually happens, they don't for some reason. And it happened with Anita Hill in 91 when with the senator that was sexually harassing her or whatever. Well, after all of the sexual harassment took place, she still chose, even though she was given the opportunity to go work somewhere else, she still followed him and stayed working for him, followed him to a new job. And so that immediately put doubt into everybody's mind. They're like, oh, she's making it up, blah, blah. Why would she do that if he was actually doing these things that were so terrible? Well,
it can be a true story, but then with the Me Too stuff, right? Yeah. Was it Feinstein? No, that was Weinstein.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein.
They knew what was being done to them was not okay.
Right.
They knew that they didn't want to do it. But at the same time, they also understood, unfortunately, that it was a part of the disgusting process of getting into that place. And
it's also the abuse of power. Why do we always get into this conversation? We're always talking about this shit. This is what I'm saying. We need some guests so we stop talking about people getting harassed and sexually abused.
I know.
But the point was lead singer of Brand New apparently is a scumbag, and Skyped the girl jerking off when she was 22
is when she got
the end of the article. They should have just left it out, because then they were like, she said that he Skyped her when she was 22, later on. And
well, for context, their first contact was when she was 16.
Yeah.
So she was 16, he was 22, 23 years old. They exchanged emails. They were talking on Messenger. He was hitting her up. He was wanting nude pictures and stuff like that. And so apparently, and then he did call her on Skype, and he was jerking off.
And she said that she just didn't do anything about
She's
it.
like,
She
yeah,
just
she's-
watched it apparently.
And the thing is she doesn't explain the part where she goes, you know, I wanted to get off the phone with him, but I felt trapped.
Yeah.
She goes,
She
she's
just
like,
said,
I wanted to get off the phone. I couldn't, and I don't know why I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah.
That's essentially what she said. You know, and so it's like,
But it doesn't say that. It just says that he Skyped her jerking off basically, and I didn't stop.
Yeah.
I didn't stop watching.
yeah, I couldn't stop watching. She's like, no, she said, I know I should have turned it off, but for some reason I couldn't. That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's what she said. And
Which leads me to like,
the lead singer of
just
one of the
wanna-
biggest bands in that genre is wanting to bang you, and he's not an unattractive person.
Right.
And if you're single, why not?
yeah. And
Why wouldn't you?
Dude, if I were 15, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Fuck,
I'd be
yeah.
all about this. You
Yeah.
realize I don't even get attention from people my own age.
And that
So
was
it's
something
like
that she had mentioned in the article.
singer of the biggest band ever.
Yeah, she mentioned that he was the first one to tell her that she was
That's right.
pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, something to that effect. Whether it's true or not, we don't know, but that's what was in the article.
And what's interesting too is like, and here's a valid point to anything. I mean, obviously, don't have sex with minors, but here's a point to make, and that is that whenever, so for instance, like a toddler, they're having like just a really terrible day. That's probably the worst fucking day of their life.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? They've only been alive for like 2 years. That's quite possibly at least top 5 worst days of their life.
Yeah,
Normal day
24
for
months,
you
yeah.
could totally be worst day of their life. A 15-year-old girl, that quite possibly could be her first interaction with a male.
Mm-hmm.
It could be her very first time that she's told that she's pretty by somebody that's not her parents.
Agreed, considering the amount of time that she had on the earth.
Right.
At that moment.
And
Yeah,
so
I agree.
you've got to take that into consideration with those kinds of things. I mean, obviously it shouldn't even be something that needs to be taken in consideration.
No, I agree.
But it's like that's one of the factors that I think is that you're dealing with is that human, even
That's
though
the key
they
thing.
might be boy, girl, whatever.
Human. Like you're still making decisions.
They might
like this.
be mature in their mind. They might speak maturely. They might look maturely or mature, but they haven't had the experience in order to grow those emotions and how they deal with those things. And I think that's what matters most.
Yes.
In that thing is you're ruining and taking the experience from the person of learning how that stuff is supposed to work. Even the heartbreak and the up and down and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's how you develop extra calluses. Did we have a question from?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We did have a question.
I feel like we did.
Jay, okay, I'll pull it up. You keep talking about whatever
Yep.
you talk about.
Well, since you're doing that, I'll do some needed house cleaning. I mentioned this yesterday on the show, but we'll bring it
show
up
that
again.
never
The
Oh wait,
Phantom show.
we also had a listener, Patreon donor.
Oh, yeah.
And your student got his blue belt.
Yep.
Why
So
don't you
Christian
talk
got
about
his
that?
blue belt. Yep. So Christian is actually in a band. I think it's called Damage Plan. I don't Mismanage. He's in a band called Mismanage. So if you guys are fans of hardcore, check out Christian's band Mismanage. But he's been one of my students for a really long time. Competes probably more than any white belt that I've ever trained with. Not to say that he's better than anybody else as far as getting out there and getting competitions, but he competes a shit ton. Started really racking up some medals at the end right before his promotion. So I had gotten permission from Rolly to promote him and then just kept forgetting. And so I finally promoted him on Tuesday morning, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday morning of last week. And so, yeah. And then now his schedule's kind of changed up a little bit. So now he's helping me with the kids class on the afternoons. So it's kind of cool.
Now he doesn't show up because he got his blue belt.
Yeah. So now he's showing up to help me out with the kids class, which I'm always big on developing guys and girls who want to start coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people believe, well, you should start with kids classes and then work your way up to adults and whatever. And maybe.
Dude, there's some people that I won't. I mean, they're great people, but they shouldn't.
They just shouldn't be
teaching
coaching.
kids
Yeah,
classes.
exactly. So I disagree with that statement.
Yeah.
Now, most of us all started out our coaching career teaching kids and stuff like that because why? Nobody really wants to do it. It takes a special kind of person to do it. And then at a certain point, it is a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of You've got to really learn how to handle yourself and compose yourself a lot when you're dealing with other people's kids, safety and even discipline pieces and stuff like that. And so it takes a special kind of person. And so I don't fully believe that everybody should cut their teeth in coaching with a kids class. But I do think that if you have a good kids coach who is already teaching a kids class and you volunteer to assist that coach, there's a lot to be said there because you're basically in a mentor program where you're learning how to coach, you're learning how to teach, and you're developing those skills. And so I'm happy to have Christian helping me out with that a lot because it's going to be a huge help for me. And then my buddy Dave, who is a huge fan of the show, I guess 2 or 3 episodes ago, technically it was 2 episodes ago, but really because the Phantom episode, it was only 1 episode ago, 2 episodes ago, I said he was an Arkansas state champion wrestler. He is not. He is an Arizona state champion wrestler. I don't even remember saying Arkansas, which we talked about how we get to talking and not realizing it. And then we go back and listen to the episode and we're like, we're fucking retarded.
Technically, I could say like anytime before 2010. Like Arkansas didn't have wrestling until like 2010.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no way.
I was 2005 Arkansas state champion, baby.
That's right. And so so he's an Arizona state champion wrestler, and he actually lives back in Arizona now, and he's a phenomenal grappler. I've said that before. So hopefully one day he'll pass through and we'll all get to train. But so we have a question.
Yes, we got to get through this kind of quick because we have about 30 minutes before we run into. Hopefully, we're not going to crash the computer again. So we've got to get through this, and then we got to get through the last little bit of our bull crap, and then we'll be done. Jay asked us, you guys both had gyms. Was it harder to progress in your jiu-jitsu when you went from student to instructor / gym owner? Very curious about how it all works.
That's an awesome question.
We already answered this once, and we wish that you would have listened the first time, so we'll have to repeat ourselves now.
Which hopefully I'll be able to say it better this time than I did yesterday. So, like I said yesterday, I went from being a student to a coach to a student again, to a student / coach. And so when I was a student, I just got to focus on my training. And then when I became a coach, when I ran my own gym in Cabot, it wasn't that I had a hard time balancing my progression and teaching and coaching at the same time. It was that I had a young school and my training partners were young. So I had almost all white and blue belts. And I was a purple and brown belt. And so when it came to getting ready for competitions and stuff like that, I really didn't have training partners to push me. I would have to put myself into really shitty places. And I competed a shit ton when I was a purple and brown belt while running my own gym for that very reason. So that I could gauge my progress off of other purple and brown belts. If I was winning, then I was doing something right. If I was losing, then I had seen something or been privy to something that I needed to work on, and I could work on it. And then when I went to Westside and became a student again, I did notice that my jiu-jitsu did improve drastically, having a dedicated coach for myself. And then when I became a coach at Westside, so although I am one of the on-staff coaches at Westside, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still one of Rolly's students. Like he's my coach. He is always my coach. He will always be my coach. And if I have questions about competing, I go to him. I still always take his advice. I try scheduling wise to at least get a couple of classes in a week with him. It doesn't always work out and it does suck. But when I'm able to, I still try to take the opportunity to get noon classes in with him because it's one of the few times that we get to be together in a training environment and train together and work together. And so it is very important, for me. So for me, it wasn't ever a time thing. Like I never had to balance anything. It was just not having training partners to train with at my level.
Right.
So
for me, there was a couple of different variables that came into play. I was living in the back of my gym. And so my problem wasn't that I necessarily wasn't training enough. I was training too much. And that's all I did. I lived in the back of the gym. There was never a break from training because when I was done training, I went into the back and was still in that environment. There was no separation. And so that wore at me like really heavily on top of just being in one of the darkest moments of my life, opening the gym like that, just transition was really, really rough for me. But I would say it's incredibly difficult, especially as a new gym opening up. I said this yesterday, but jiu-jitsu is measured in months and years, and your business, especially when you're dealing with jiu-jitsu and MMA, your business is going to be no different. So as a new business owner, as a new gym owner, you're going to have a bunch of white belts that don't know what they're doing. And you're going to have classes with just you and another person. Mm-hmm. And you're probably not going to like drilling with that person. You're not going to like, maybe even not like that person. You're going to have to suck it up and deal with it and train with them because that's what your job is now, And so I just couldn't focus the attention on me. I was on the mats rolling with my students and still looking around, making sure that everybody was being safe. Everybody was taken care of. There's nobody walking in the door, so on and so forth. So it distracted me a lot. I didn't have a vehicle so that I could train or so that I could get away from the gym and go somewhere and train. I surrounded myself with experts in the area, but only limited to people that would come to me. Mm-hmm. If I had to go somewhere else, I couldn't because I didn't have a vehicle. And so it really took its toll on my training. But I think that it was for the better because we're in a place now where I can step on the mats almost every day of the week and feel like I got what I needed out of training because we have that many different people on the mats of different size, rank, so on and so forth. And it takes time. We've been at it for 6 years and it's just now starting to get that way. And it's still not consistent all the time. I said it again, God damn that Phantom episode. That drove me crazy, dude. I said at the beginning of this year, I really felt like this year was going to be our year. Like it just something clicked where I was just like, man, I really feel like everything's coming together this year. And it has. However, I still don't feel like it's where it needs to be. So we still have a long way to go, but it's just a process. And then like when you're trying to train for yourself, I'm talking myself in circles. It's a difficult task though.
But I'll say this, and that's a great question. And I think it's a question that a lot of people ask themselves, because I think ultimately, for the most part, people who are heavily, interested in jiu-jitsu, people, who are obsessed with it or whatever, everybody wants to open up their own gym. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of everybody's ultimate goal, especially the guys who are gym rats who want to be in the gym all the time. Ultimately like, man, I want to open my own gym. You and I have both been gym owners. The difference is that I'm kind of living the dream, right? So I have done both. And that's why I say I'm living the dream, because I get to teach jiu-jitsu and then go home with nothing else on my mind. Yeah. I don't have to wonder about the marketing stuff. I don't have to wonder about what program am I going to run? What instructors are doing this? Like, is this student leaving? And if this student is leaving, how am I going to get 5 more because I can't afford this and that? I don't have to worry about any of that shit.
See, I disagree. I don't think that's the dream. It's not my dream anyways.
Yeah, it's not your dream. Yeah. Right.
You're living your dream. Don't project your dream.
Don't put your dream in don't put baby in a corner.
Yeah.
Because when I was running my gym, and maybe I wasn't in the best place when I was running my gym either. Honestly, kind of like with your situation, like I was going through a divorce.
I'm in a good place now, people, by the way.
Yeah. We've had a couple moments on the show where we've had to pull Jonny out of some dark places during the episodes. But I was going through a divorce. I was a single dad. I was raising my daughters at the gym basically because I spent so much time there. I didn't have a very good paying civilian job. In comparison, I guess, compared to some other people's shitty jobs, I had a pretty good paying job. But for what I needed money-wise, it wasn't, especially for a developing school where my rent was probably right on the cusp of what my students were bringing me. Mm-hmm. And then I had electricity and gas in the winter and things like that. So like I was living at the edge of operating expenses for my gym and what I was making in profit. And then there were times where daddy had to eat. So then daddy would have to take a little bit of money out of the school to go feed his family. Mm-hmm. And then that would cause rent to be late. Like I just wasn't in a good place. I if I was in a better place where now, oh man, I would, especially after getting what I call to be one of the best paid internships at Westside. I've spent the last 4 years almost, getting to train and work at one of the most successful gyms in the state. seeing the mistakes that were made, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, the important stuff here. Even learning about like, oh, so we can buy gis from this company for this price. And we put a couple of our patches on here, and like just the things I didn't know. My school gi was a gameness gi. It was the gameness Air because I had an account with the company, and it was the cheapest gi I could get, and still make a profit. You know, so I could get my retail price and stuff like that. But training wise, the other part is that I didn't know any better, and so I thought I was training harder, just as hard as everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sweating. I'm doing 5-minute rounds. I'm doing suicide rounds. I'm getting tired and I'm sore when I go home. I'm training my fucking ass off. The truth is that the quality of the training I was getting and doing at that time was not conducive for the level at which I was competing. Right. And so,
it's a tough balance for sure.
It is.
I heard you talking about owning your own gym and your dream, your silly dream. I was reading through a Reddit thing this morning. Somebody was saying that the myth that hard work will bring you success needs to die. That it's not hard work that will bring you success because wealthy people capitalize on other people doing the hard work for them.
Good point.
So people are going through their complaining about, I worked this 9-to-5 job. I worked hard my whole life. I did this, that, and the other. And it got me nothing. This, that, all these kinds of complaints about that kind of stuff. And it dawned on me, I was like, you people have it fucking wrong. Like, it's okay if you want to learn a skill, you want to be a brick mason, that's what you do for the rest of your life. You make a good living, you have a family. That's great if that's what you want to do. If that's not what you want to do, you have to work for yourself. Like, you can't work hard for somebody else. I mean, like, you're never going to work as hard as you can, the way that you would for your own survival and for your own success. You're never going to do that for somebody else. It's not going to happen. And even in a situation where, say, like, you're working for Westside, you're working for your gym or whatever, I still think that you're probably deep down, you're only working as hard as you work ultimately for yourself, which is okay. It's not bad. Not saying that like you're selfish or anything.
No, you're right. There's nothing there. There's no fruit that comes from my labor.
Right. You're going to have good students. You're helping grow the gym. You're doing your part in that manner. But the reasons that you're there every day, the reasons that you put so much time and effort into it are probably more for yourself because you're investing in your own time,
right?
Than anything. And so that's where people get it wrong. Is like, if you're doing a job, if you're cooking at Applebee's and you fucking hate it and you can't get the motivation to work hard at that position, then you're in the wrong job. Like, find something else. Either that or that's a means to an end. That's what you're doing in the meantime. You're working hard at that in order to achieve your dream, which is still working for yourself. And so, like, I think people just get it wrong about all of that.
I also
don't work for other people.
You're absolutely right. And I would like to open another gym. I'd like to give it another go now that I'm older, more mature, more financially understanding and stuff like that. But you have to open the gym. If you're going to open up a gym, you have to do it for the right reasons, I think. And when I opened my gym back in 2012, whatever it was, I was opening up out of necessity, not because I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I was under an organization
That's kind of how ours popped up. Yeah. We did it for need.
Yeah. I did it out of a necessity because the gym I was coaching at the time closed. And then I didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted to stay with my original lineage and coach and stuff like that. And so I had like 10 guys that were going to go with me, and that was going to be my startup capital. And so that's why I did it, because I didn't want to go anywhere else.
But you probably worked your ass off so that you could train jiu-jitsu.
I absolutely did.
Like, if nothing else, like, even your passion out of that might not have been to make money. Like, I'm one of the worst business owners because I really don't care if I make money or not.
Right.
I want to make paycheck. I want to be successful, but like, ultimately, I know that the money I'm going to get, this sounds bad, but the money that I'm going to get out of you is not going to be right now. It's not going to be out of tacking on an extra gi and a t-shirt to this sale when I know that you don't have the money to do so.
Right.
It's going to be 2 years down the road, when you've bought 4 gis from me and a bunch of t-shirts throughout that time when you did have money or whatever, that kind of thing.
Or when you've brought in 2 or 3 friends because you truly believe in the culture and you really enjoy what you do.
Or just paid your fucking bill
or just
for
paid your bill
4
nonstop.
years. That's a lot of money,
it's 12, 24, 36, almost $50,000.
That's going to make me more money than had I sold you a gi, got a bunch of money up front from you, and then you leave in 3 months. So I think playing the long game helps. And then, but yeah, like you have to find what matters to you and then work towards that.
Going into this next opportunity, if I ever, in the next couple of years or whatever, if I decide to open up another gym, my motivation going forward has changed a lot. And it's been a lot with working with Joey and those guys down in Louisiana, getting to see those guys develop and getting to see them be provided with the tools that they've needed this whole time, and being able to be part of the reason that they have those tools and to see them really develop their students and grow their team and just be an asset. Moving forward into my opening up my own gym, if I decide to do that years down the road, my mindset is that I just want to make an awesome team. Yeah. That's before I didn't care about making an awesome team. I just wanted to change jiu-jitsu, and I didn't care if it was the same 10 guys that I opened the gym with. One of us had to find a way to train. And so I just did it.
Right.
And so moving forward though, the idea would be like, man, I want to leave behind a great team. I want people moving forward. I want Jonny to go, man, Mitch is a killer fucking coach. He's made a killer team out there. I want to go to AGF, and I want the other people to see my patch, and be like, man, Mitch is a good black belt. He's a good coach. He's developed a killer team out there, and people want to be a part of that. That's where I want to be happy with my legacy that I leave behind, is that of a coach. And I think that's a good way to go into a gym, at that stage.
I stole an idea from Uriah Faber where he was saying, it was early on, like when he was still champ of the WC or whatever, he was saying one of his long-term goals was to create profitable money-making opportunities for his family and friends around him. To be able to provide, he wants to have a gym where he can provide jobs for his friends, living situations for his friends and family members and stuff like that. That's what he wanted to do with his money. And that's kind of like, that's where I'm at with my gym. You're talking about you want to create a good team. I want to create a team as well. I want to create a place that my friends can feel like they can do what they want creatively. Right. I have a good friend that he actually works at Westside sometimes too. Will come up and take pictures up there.
Yeah, he's worked with he did our pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, duh. So he asked me, like, do you think it'd be cool if I started doing photo shoots in the back of the gym? I'm like, freaking of course. Like, I want to be that space where you get to figure out how to, like, try to make money off of what we're doing here. Try to, find that next little niche that's going to set us different or set us apart and make your living off of that, that's what I feel like I'm here for. That's what I feel like the gym is for, it's like, it's a community and we're all here to help each other grow. Even if it's something that's totally unrelated with jiu-jitsu, we'll find a way to make it fit so that we can help you grow. Like his is photography. That's pretty easy to fit into jiu-jitsu, but
absolutely.
I've talked to people about like putting a tattoo shop in the gym and stuff. We can't do that because of
there's a whole lot of other
code
things.
violations. But simple stuff like that, like a barber shop in the back or something.
Yeah.
I've talked about I've said this before, but one of my old students that passed away, we were going to open a bouldering gym together. And that was going to be, we were trying to tie that in with Gravitas and what we were doing with that. I think that'd be sick to blend those two cultures. Yeah. I also want to put a half pipe in the back of the gym.
Really?
I really like a mini pipe.
Like a 3 foot or 6 foot?
Yeah. Like I think that would be so dope, dude. Like, who else has a skateboard ramp?
Not that I know.
Crone Gracie has one in the back of his gym.
Does he?
Yeah. And then I know they have a skate bowl at the Ruka gym.
Yeah.
But like, dude, it'd be pretty sick. And like, to be able to blend those cultures right there together would just be so cool. That
would be badass, man. And the thing is that the two cultures themselves, because we both come from that background, they're almost identical.
Yeah.
Like look at like Dom's videos. Look at your modern jiu-jitsu videos, like your new age Art Suave type videos. the cinematography and the musical styles are the same that we grew up watching on the old skate videos.
So I had, I'm so glad you said this.
Same thing.
Because you just remind me of this idea that I've had. I've had a couple ideas recently since I've gotten this gimbal because I've been, all into that. But what I was thinking is like, I want to do it with one of my classes or the next time we have a rank review. I'm going to spend like 3 months with my students, and maybe you and I can figure out a way to do this. But like, basically I'm going to tell them like, you're going to put together a skateboarding part. So like whenever skateboarders would put together like, they'd put together several runs.
They have a line,
plan out their line or whatever. And I'm going to tell them like, you're going to have a skateboarding part, and you're going to have we're going to make a tape, and you're going to come out, and everybody's going to be circled up, all hyped up, and there's going to be music playing in the background. We're all going to be going crazy. And you're gonna show your skateboarding part,
right?
Like you're gonna hit this slick Toriando to a headstand pass, take the back into a bow and arrow choke or whatever. Something just fucking ignorant and crazy.
But that's a really cool idea to do that.
It'd be so much fun, dude.
I mean, you could literally do. I mean, we could start a whole new genre where we're making like those Art Suave type videos. Where people are actually tuning in with all this. Oh my God.
I know. And get this. Okay. Black belts in Arkansas, hit me up, because here's what I'm thinking. We get all of us together. You, me, Bruno, we get some of the brown belts, some of the purple belts or whatever, just a bunch of them in. We'll all put together a part. We'll all have like a little DVD that comes out that's just like our sick moves.
It's like a mix between like an and one video and a fucking like Element or like CKY
that'd be
video.
So good, dude.
Dude, that would be
They have
sick.
like the dance. They have dance crews that do that kind of thing too.
Yeah,
and I've always felt like
there's no reason why we couldn't do it.
Imagine if people in jiu-jitsu got as hyped about you doing a move on the mats.
They do.
Training.
We do.
You and I do, but like. In Brazil, one of the things that I tried bringing back, we shake everybody's hands. I brought that back. The other thing I tried is like, whenever people would do something, the whole mats would just erupt and clapping. Everybody would just start clapping for somebody that did a slick armbar.
Dude, we just take all of our past skateboard.
I want people taking their gis off, like throwing them over their head, bouncing around the mats. Like that'd be sick. Stunting on another person, come up and like. Freeze, right? Like they do in breakdance. I'm gonna come up and like chest to chest on you, do a handstand right in your face.
That's ridiculous.
That's the goal. We're gonna do that soon. That'd be so good.
That would be sick. Like nobody's doing that. Like, and it's funny. Like people listening right now, they're like, "Man, Mitch and Johnny are retarded." Like nobody's there. And then we make one, and they're like, "Damn, that's sick, bro. Like that's sick." Yep. Like, yeah, you're gonna have a partner that's gonna be letting you do the technique on you. Obviously, like
it's no different than what AOJ does.
It's no different.
They grab their green belt children and like, here, let me do this all over you, and we'll put. The only
difference is we add badass cinematography with killer music in the background.
Yeah.
And you hit like badass angles and slow it down and speed it back up, and then have like that gimbal. Oh man, you could literally just go all over. Like I'm gonna watch skateboard videos on the drive home, dude.
Yeah, we're going to.
Just to
don't watch them on the drive home, please.
Well, you're not bossing me, so. Are you trying to live forever?
This podcast is gonna go on forever if we don't.
I know, because we just hit another level where we could have went on for like another 30.
That we're gonna have to save that for the next episode. Have to. Whenever I get a new computer.
Yeah.
We need to make sure too. We've got new Patreon content coming out soon, as well as I forgot to mention this on the episode we didn't release, so that's good. We're still waiting. I've got the whole seminar that we did, our Rough and Tumble seminar. Yep. That whole thing is recorded on video. So as soon as we get to $100 a month on Patreon subscribers, then we will release that on the Patreon. So you'll have access to that whole seminar, all the moves that we taught, so on and so forth, which is great. I love that. That content will be on there. Also our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube, because we'll have the videos up now, our live stream of the podcast, as well as we're starting to dive into some different creative ideas with some silly viral videos and stupid stuff that we want to put out in the future. So if you are interested in checking that out, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube as well. You can find us on Instagram, the Rough and Tumble Podcast. And I think that's it. Check us out on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, all the things. And we're on there. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
We have some Patreon shout outs, but we might have to do those next time.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we're running out of time. I really don't want this to
crash
on us. So with that said, See you later.
See you next time.